From the kitchen of the cabin,
It's the 5 Games for Doomsday news.
with Ben and Steve.
Woof, Steve.
Very hot.
Thank you. I am.
No, the weather. It's humid. It's moist.
So, right, they say in the podcast world, August is the worst month, right?
What do you mean the podcast world?
In the world of podcasts.
Oh, when you go and you hang out with
when
the
I
creme
hang
de
out
la
with-
creme of the
yeah,
podcast.
When me and Rogan hang out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're friends with Rogan?
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson. Does he have a podcast?
Probably. I mean, everybody does at this point, don't they? Who else?
Are you part of the intellectual dark web?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I'm like the they have a quota system. You've got to have at least one thicko in any organisation.
The rest is politics guys.
Yeah, me and Alistair Campbell hang out, yeah.
Yeah, Tom
Rest
Holland.
is history,
Yeah.
Tom Holland, great mates.
Hardcore history. You big fan, right?
Dan Carlin, yeah, we hang out, yeah.
Yeah. What are some other podcasts people listening to this now may have heard of?
Last podcast on the left, those lads.
Don't know that one.
What else?
In Our Times.
In Our Time, Melvin Bragg, me and Melvin, top mates.
You and Melvin.
Yeah.
Really?
So the thing is, right?
How come he hasn't done an episode about board games? In Our Times board, you could go on as an expert.
I could go on as an expert, yeah. I could talk about...
You sound like one of those like Oxbridge toffs.
Hello, yes. In ancient Egypt, in between the shagging in baths of milk, Melvin, they would occasionally have a game of Tomopolo.
Now, isn't it true that the games used to be only 2-player back then? When did they start adding like 3rd and 4th players to games?
Well, during the orgy times of the Roman Empire. Well, once you've got a penis in every hole, you've got to have something to do with your hands, haven't you, Melvin? Ha 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 ha.
That's really interesting.
Thank you.
What would you say in the bit after, like, how the podcast, Melvin has a few extra minutes with his guests? What would you say, like...
Oh,
is there anything you wanted to say that you didn't get to say?
Fuck me, Melvin, that was hard work on it. Fucking hell, Melvin. I tell you, these other two cunts are boring, aren't they? Do you want to go for a pint? We're not inviting fucking Specky and Poindexter here. They're fucking boring cunts. Do you go out and have a pint? Maybe watch the foot email.
Okay, so when you're hanging out with all these people...
Yeah, in the secret podcast lounge.
How come I'm not invited?
Well, this is the point, you see. So you might not know this, but there's entry requirements.
Yeah, what are they?
A certain amount of broadcast hours. You haven't hit that yet.
Okay, I mean, eventually though, right?
Coolosity.
Yeah, that's going to be
Difficult.
Sell, yeah.
Yeah. Sort of virility.
Okay.
I mean, you've not managed
So
yet.
obviously you're not...
You're not managed yet to reproduce.
It's not like a prerequisite for everybody if you're...
No. Well,
invited.
my voice encourages people to copulate, so therefore it's virility by proxy.
I can't deny that.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about copulation right now.
And non-twattishness. So, I mean, the thing is, Tom Holland from The Rest is History was saying to me, Steve's all right, broadcast hour's going to be there soon. Can you see this joke coming?
You're really disqualifying me, aren't you? It's like you've set me up for this.
Like virility. I mean, he's probably going to get his missus up the stick at some point, isn't he? He's got to get off the bites and beer, but he'll do that.
Lovely turn of phrase.
Yeah, what was the third one?
Coolosity?
Coolosity.
Yeah. That's a word.
Take the Hawaiian shirts off.
Yeah.
Maybe he's all right. Last one though, Ben. Not sure we can let him in. What with him being a twat?
I mean,
and then Rogan's going, "Yeah, man, yeah," in the corner.
Put in a good word for us.
I'll put in a good word with the leader.
So
anyway, so what we hear on the first section of the news. So, okay. We're doing the build-up. Because this... Oh, my God.
What?
I've worked out... Oh, no, it isn't. It's August. This is the penultimate episode before Essen this year.
Are you sure? Wait, episode of what?
The news.
Oh, the news.
The news is only monthly.
Wait a minute. It's August?
Yeah, so we have a news episode in September, and the news episodes always
then
come at
it's
the
like
end of the month.
Steve and Ben Essen Spectacular.
Exactly.
Which
and
is
it's going to be daily shows.
We're going to do daily shows?
Well, I did last year, didn't I?
I don't remember. I was drunk most of the time.
Do you remember when my computer broke down and I nearly killed the world?
Oh, yeah. That's when you You revealed your true self, the sort of like whiny crybaby who can't deal with even a modest setback.
Yeah. Well, it's just computers. Computers and public transport do my face in.
When faced with a challenge, you crumble.
I do, yeah.
There's like nothing left of you.
Nothing left of me. I have no stamina. I have no stiff upper lip.
You have no reserves of steadfastness.
But I mean, you love it, don't you?
Like watching you fall apart like this?
You like a sort of sense of superiority, don't you?
Yeah, with you, because most of the time...
Like I'm just being a...
You're just, exactly. You're hurling invectives in my direction.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's give him... We're going to do a video.
Yep.
I'm hoping your good lady wife will stand behind the camera.
She will.
And make sure that we're in focus.
She's actually excited to do this. I don't know why.
Yeah. And so we're going to...
I don't know about in focus, though. Touch out of focus, maybe.
Soft focus.
Yeah,
Is what you need.
Flattering focus.
You can do that. You can do that post.
Whatever you prefer.
In post-production.
We could do a lot in post.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
You know those like those filters that you can put on like Zoom and Google Meet?
Yeah, to make you look like a chibi or something.
Yeah, like snap filter.
We should do it like
you could be a pickle.
As a pickle.
We could be pickles.
Pickle Rick.
Yeah, pickle
That's
Rick.
Popular culture, isn't it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Anyway, so we're going to be doing this video on Essen, and it's going to be 5 games for Essen.
Oh, I get it now.
In the 5 games series, you see.
I get it.
And, you're going to have 5 games. I'm going to have 5 games. So don't give them one of the games that's going to be on your 5 list.
Well,
but tell us...
There is the game that's not going to be on my 5 list.
Tell us one of the games from Essen coming up that you're interested in.
Okay, I just learned about, I can't remember the name now, that Alexander Pfister game.
Oh.
Space Mines?
That's it, isn't it?
I don't know.
Something like that.
Space Mines?
It's the re-implementation of Mombasa.
Yeah, it's the re-implementation of Mombasa. It's like lunar...
Have you played Mombasa?
Yes, I own it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I keep telling you it's fantastic. I mean, some people have an issue with the theme, and that's legit. If you have an issue with the theme, don't play it. So now they're going to reskin it and make it completely innocuous.
Is it good, though? Or is it like 75% finished and has loads of extraneous stuff?
You base this prejudice...
It's not prejudice.
Exclusively on Maracaibo.
Prejudice is when you prejudge something.
No, you love... Because you haven't really played his games. You've played...
Yeah, I have. I played Oh My Goods, which is good.
You love Oh My Goods. You like Broom Service. You played Maracaibo.
No, I love Broom Service.
Yeah, you enjoyed Boone Lake. I was there when you did.
Yeah, I enjoyed Boone Lake. I still think it has extraneous bits.
You have extraneous bits.
I do.
You're
far too
You're
many.
all extraneous bits.
I need to eat less carbohydrate.
I think Maracaibo is the only sore spot for you in the oeuvre of Pfister.
I think Maracaibo is completely overwrought and needs development. And
what else?
I haven't played Great Western Trail, but I interviewed T.C. Petty III the other day.
Yeah.
And he claims that Great Western Trail is the best Eurogame ever made.
Well, then you have to give it a go.
I have to give it a go.
I'm going to buy it. So there's a New Zealand one, an Argentina one.
Which one are you drawn to?
New Zealand.
Why?
I lived there.
How long did you live there for?
6 months.
Did you? What did you do?
And it doesn't sound like a long time, but it was 6 months when I was like 22 years old. And like at that age, 6 months feels like 10 years.
South Island or North Island?
Auckland.
I don't know where it is.
Auckland is the North Island.
Okay, great.
It's not the capital, but it's the largest city.
Did you go and watch cricket?
You know what they call people who live in Auckland?
Ockies.
No, Jaffas.
Really? Why? Because they're sterile.
No. People who don't live in Auckland call people who live in Auckland Jaffas. Jaffa means just another fucking Aucklander.
Oh, wow.
Auckland is like the New York City of New Zealand. And of course, everyone is like stuck up and urban and I don't know.
Did you go and watch the
Not
cricket?
in my experience, but apparently that's the prejudice.
Did you go and watch cricket when you were there?
No.
Why not?
I watched rugby.
Oh, what did you think? Did you watch the All Blacks?
I think that's probably hard to get tickets to.
I watched
the local
You're like,
team.
what's his name on this? The rest is politics, aren't you? You don't have any sports references. Rory Stewart.
I like Australian rules football.
Do you?
I think it's very entertaining.
Do you?
Yeah. Super violent, no breaks, no penalties, total action, and they played on a cricket pitch. So huge.
So if I brandished 2 tickets,
I'd go
to Liverpool Man United at the weekend. It's on Monday.
Oh. Wait a minute.
I said I got a couple of plane tickets.
Liverpool Man United, the greatest football team in history, is deigning to have a match with...
I mean, talking about seeing a joke coming a mile away.
No, is this for real?
Yeah, on Monday.
Where? Oh, I
It's
can't
in
do
Old.
it.
It's
I
in
can't
Old
do
Trafford.
It.
Well, oh,
Can't
'cause
do it.
you would sacrifice
Yeah.
2 tickets to Old Trafford to go watch Man United Liverpool.
What is Old Trafford?
That's Man United's ground.
So we have to fly to the UK for
Yeah.
this.
So
I'd be with my people though.
you'd be with the people of Manchester because
It's my home game.
the thing is when I look
home
at
team.
when I look at your steel cut oats and your expensive sofa.
Manchester is a city of steel.
I mean, the one thing I think about you is I think, man of the people loves hanging around with the working classes.
Man is the important thing here, right? Man.
Yeah.
You don't have Manchester without man.
That's true.
And Liverpool, what's that? Liver?
Yeah, liver. You don't have the processing. You wouldn't be able to drink lovely booze if you didn't have
And
a
the
liver.
urine is going to pool around your ankles as your team goes down in flames.
Well, Man United are really bad at the moment. Anyway, this is not a football podcast. Anyway, so give us a game and not a reprint of a game.
All right. We watched, actually, we were both quite interested in this game.
Yeah.
Therefore, we did
I'm
something.
still quite interested in this game, though I'm convinced I'm going to be awful at it.
I mean, I don't tend to watch, I don't watch how to play videos of games I don't own. But we were both curious. It was 8 minutes long. Touring Machine.
Yeah.
I am very interested in this game because it just looks, I mean, whatever. It's about computers, and that's kind of appealing. And I believe it actually is somehow like a proper analog computer in some way. But, putting that aside, I think it's quite clever the way it was designed, the way it works, the way the parts fit together. A lot of the types of games that we play, like Euro games, are a bit samey. They have very similar mechanics. It's like pull mechanics out of a grab bag, throw them into a game, hope that it all fits together. And even if it's done very well, they all feel the same. And this looks like something that's going to feel different and play different. I mean, I don't even know if I'll be good at it, but definitely very appealing.
So yeah, the thing about the Turing Machine, we watched that video, and I looked at it and I thought, I don't understand this. It's a deduction logic puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is swearing. And so unless the game explicitly, the winning condition is how many swears can you stick into a sentence, then I'm not going to win. Apart from my father's work, of course. But...
well, the first time.
Yeah. So, but I was sitting there watching. I remember when I first got into games, right? Part of the reason I think I was bitten so hard by the gaming bug is the ability to construct these gaming mechanisms and put them into a coherent engine, a coherent machine, just blew my fucking mind. I was like, how do you do this? How do you create this thing? And, and what's so wonderful, I think, about the whole notion of game design is that you design these games and then you just let them exist in the world. And you've designed it in such a way that it's so robust that it functions without your input. I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing. And looking at that Turing machine, I thought, wow.
And I think,
I couldn't even conceive of this, right?
Yeah, and it must have been really difficult to design and figure out. I mean, I think it actually is a Turing machine. It is a computer. It can compute anything any other computer can compute. Like Magic the Gathering, people say, is Turing complete.
Right.
Somehow
what's Turing complete mean?
It's hard to explain because I'm not good at explaining it. If something is Turing complete, then in principle, if you have a system that is Turing complete or a machine or whatever that is Turing complete, that in principle it is equivalent to any other system or machine that is Turing complete, therefore can compute anything that is computable.
Okay.
So a computer, there are things that can be computed and things that cannot be computed, with algorithms.
So for instance,
with logic.
Your level of twattishness.
Yes.
Is that computable?
I mean, probably the number wouldn't fit into the memory capability of any modern, silicon-based machine. But in principle, yes.
So my
imagine you had infinite RAM.
Okay, infinite RAMs.
Yeah.
You need a big barn for that, but nevertheless.
Yeah, that's very funny. Very funny.
And so my coolosity, is that computable?
That's an easy one. I mean, that would have been computable by 1950s computers.
Right. Okay. So
yeah, the point is, in principle, for something to be computable doesn't require a machine like this MacBook sitting right here. It just in principle needs to be computable. It just might take a long time. You can compute things by hand.
Right.
There are systems of symbols that can compute things that are a century old. So yeah, I mean, if this game actually is a computer, that's very appealing to me, thematically speaking.
Well, I mean,
if
it's also
true.
your profession, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's super clever if it's the case.
So, my game is probably not going to be on my top 5 because it's already been run as a Kickstarter. I think it's already in some people's hands. But so the thing about board games is sport simulations don't tend to work particularly well. I think Blood Bowl is good, but it's not really. Blood Bowl isn't a sports simulation.
You never played Baseball Stars or Blades of Steel?
No, I must confess I haven't.
Oh, Blades of Steel was so good.
Is it an ice skating one?
Hockey.
Okay.
Best hockey game of all time.
And then, they tend to go with...
It had fights.
Yeah.
You could have fights.
Can we have a fight now?
No.
I mean, interrupted what I'm talking about.
In Blades of Steel,
Yeah.
if you got into an altercation with another player, you could try to steal the puck, but if you got too close, then it would switch to a different screen, and you would actually have a fight, and you'd have
was it a computer game?
Nintendo game.
Oh no, I'm talking about board games here.
Oh, just
so computer games simulate sport wonderfully, like FIFA and stuff. Simulate.
Blades of Steel. You've got to play. Get an emulator.
But I find in board games, people often put on the lacquer of fantasy or sci-fi to make the pill go down easier, right? But there's a game coming out from Portal, and it's called 11. And what it is, you see...
Turn it up to.
I'm going to get it, and you're going to play it, and I reckon you're going to like it. Because what this is not simulating a game of football. It's simulating a season of football, and you're the manager. So basically what it is a Euro game, and your resources are players, and your currency is fitness levels and injuries and that sort of stuff, right? So actually what it is, so I assume, now I may be wrong here, but I assume outside of the world of board games, you don't have a massive interest in crop rotation in medieval farming, right?
Sure I don't.
Exactly. So, I remember sort of sitting down one time to play a game and thinking, objectively, what am I doing? I'm planting carrots and raising sheep. I have no interest in that, but within the realm of a board game, it's absolutely wonderful, right? And I think this game might be the first sort of hobby game. So there's baseball highlights.
I'm not against sports, I love playing sports. I just don't like watching them.
Why not? They're great.
It's fucking boring.
It's not boring.
I like to play them, and if it's a game about sports, I'm still playing a game. So whatever, it'll be fine.
So
watching them on telly, as you call it, not into it.
So I'm interested to see whether 11 works.
Who's publishing it?
Portal Games.
You said
Ignacy.
that. You said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, friend of yours, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Friend of the show.
Certainly. We sit and have a chat. We watch the Champions League final together. And the thing is, Ignacy hasn't designed the game, but Ignacy I'm sure he developed the game, and Ignacy is a big football fan. And so I think there is going to be a sort of feeling.
They published one of those Dune
games.
games, right?
They did publish a Dune game, yeah.
So I played Cascadia at Berlin Brett Spielcon.
Which won the Spiel des Jahres. Did you hate it?
Did it win the Kenner Spiel or the regular one?
No, the regular one.
Okay.
No.
I think it won the Spiel des Jahres.
Yeah, Living Forest won the Kenner Spiel.
Yeah, I think you're right. So as I was playing it, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. But what I did think is that you just reskin this game as a Dune game, and it would be brilliant.
Really?
I don't want generic forest, swamp, plains, rivers. I want desert and grand ergs, and I want sandworms, and I want seiches, or whatever they're called, and Fremen.
Don't know enough about it.
I want a reskinned Cascadia as a Dune game. And I was thinking you could reskin every game as a Dune game. It's just they're leaving money on the table, Ben.
I remember reading Dune, the books, Dune. And I read...
not good.
I read the first one.
Not good.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
I read the second one. I thought it was all right. And then I think Dune Messiah is the third one. Might be the most boring book I've ever read to completion.
I like the universe much more than I like the writing of Frank Herbert.
Anyway, so... there are 2 games for Essen, and now we're getting to what this section is.
They could reskin War of the Ring as a Dune game.
Why? Lord of the Rings is fucking better than Dune.
War of the Spice.
It's better than Dune.
Yeah, but we could have both.
Why do we need both?
Because more, Ben.
That's the problem you see with you Americans. It's all about consumption.
Nah, it always comes back to American with you.
Plenty.
More for everyone.
Iron cut oats in a tin.
Steel cut.
Sorry, steel cut oats in a tin. No less.
Iron cut, I think, would be for you.
Yeah, exactly. They're for the workers. All right, so we're here in this section to
Wait,
talk about...
how do we mark the transition between sections?
Well, there's a bumper.
Oh, okay.
It's already recorded. Do you not listen to the shows back?
Yeah, but I had listened to them at 2x. So
Yeah,
I don't
9x.
And I don't really pay attention.
Anyway, so
we're already in the new section now.
well, this is the first section of the news show.
Okay, so when do we get to the next section?
At the end of this section.
Okay, I'm on board.
What's wrong with you?
Okay, I'm on board. Let's go. Let's do it. What
I
are we
mean,
doing?
you've done these. You've done like 4 of these now.
I'm like 20% of my brain is involved in this at the moment.
Is this the first one you've ever done sober? No, last time we were just drinking coffee. What's wrong with you?
I don't remember.
Anyway, so we're talking about the flood of Patreon backers, and we're giving them their due.
So who's giving them the name today?
I'm giving
the nickname.
I'm giving them the name.
Oh, this one's got the best name I've ever seen of any backer that you've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. This is a Steve.
Oh, right.
Steve Halford, who is joining as a member of the Outer Circle.
Yeah, Steve Halford. So he's
Remind me, what are the benefits of member of the Outer Circle?
You get all the bonus audio. You get your weekly newsletter.
You get more of this?
You get more of this.
I'm gesturing, like, that gesture that you make when you're sort of pointing back and forth between two people?
So this month, because August is my down month where I do interviews for the upcoming season, great interviews coming up. I'm interviewing Matt Kint on Tuesday, writer of Mind Management.
Very exciting.
Board game aficionado and New York Times best-selling author, Steve.
We need to get a copy of that game.
Damon Lindelof wrote the foreword to Mind Management.
That sounds like it should impress me.
It's a thing.
The way you're looking at me right now.
Anyway, Steve Halford. I'm going to call in Steve. We'll fix your brakes for $47.50 Halfords.
Brilliant. And next?
Next? Come on, give me the next name.
We have a few deleted pledges.
You're not allowed to read the deleted pledges.
I'm afraid
August is a quiet month.
it's the cruelest month this year.
As what's his name, T.S. Eliot once said. August is the sweatiest month, pushing salted water out of your pores.
Now this goes out on the main feed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 115 patrons. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
But we can do better. We can put a 0 after that 5.
Can you imagine an order of magnitude more?
I'm looking for an order of magnitude improvement
From
the listeners.
What are you going to promise to the listeners if we get 20 new patrons in the next 2 months?
You're putting me on the spot.
What are you going to promise them?
More content, more Steve.
I want some specificity.
I'm going to promise them more Steve in the feed.
Do you think that's going to have them galloping?
Well, what is going to have them galloping? What can I promise them?
Nudie shots.
I can promise
Steve
not...
OnlyFans. Steve Cyrek OnlyFans.
For you, Ben, I'll do it.
Anyway, so we're going to head over. So what did you think last time? You listened to the last episode. What did you think of the sexy new reporter that we had going out doing interviews?
I don't remember there being a sexy reporter.
Yeah, no, sexy new reporter. Did the Martin Wallace interview.
Yeah.
Very sexual.
I mean, I thought the interview was well done.
Yeah, but what about the sexy reporter?
The guest was great.
Yeah? Sexy reporter?
I mean, I didn't really notice.
Anyway, so we're going to hand over to the sexiest of all sexy reporters. Ben, who have you got in the studio?
News.
Well, thank you, Ben. I mean, my self-esteem was quite low until that roaring introduction, but now I'm feeling quite leonine. Anyway, apart from that, I'm here with the new president of GAMA, Frank West. Frank, welcome to the news show.
Hey, Ben, it's good to be here. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So my first question is, before we get to your new position of power and how you're going to take over the world, what is GAMA? What do they do? What does GAMA stand for? All of that sort of stuff.
So GAMA is a non-profit trade association. So for anyone who doesn't know, like the fundamental kind of description of a trade association is an organization that works with the collective interests of its members in an industry. So the overarching goal is to better the industry for the members of that industry. It's something that is, very business focused. If you work within the board game industry, if you're a retailer, if you work in media, if you organize events, if you're a publisher, a designer, if you work with shipping, anything that sits within that, GAMA is all about improving the industry for you. And that's done through a whole list of ways which we can kind of get into. But its goal is to expand the hobby, get more people playing games, make more people aware of the games that you can play, and just to make sure that those people who are in the industry have someone to represent them, someone who they can go to, gain help, and just kind of help further things for all of us.
So a couple of things on that then. So firstly, what does it do to sort of to get more people involved in the industry? And secondly, how does it help those who are in the industry already?
Absolutely. So for those who are industry, and we'll kind of start on that side, there's a whole bunch of kind of direct membership benefits that you get for being a member of GAMA. And then there are also, just the fallout kind of benefits for anyone in the industry anyway. So I try and look at the kind of the membership benefits, as they say, as different kind of pools. So you've got we give you opportunities and it's up to you what you do with them. So we organize a trade show once a year, which is a industry show. So it's not open to the general public. If you're a member, you can come, and that gives you direct access to everyone who's a member and a physical place to meet and discuss. So for me as a publisher at that show over the years, I have met with every US distributor. I've met with Canadian distributors. I've met with Australian, UK, EU distributors. I've met with people from the media. I've met with 300-400 different retailers from around the world. It's an opportunity to just be in a room with people from the industry, discuss, do business, talk. And obviously that's something where it's up to you how much you get out of it. The secondary kind of tier to that is the more kind of direct value orientated stuff. So you get given discounts for certain things. You get given free tickets to various shows. You get invited to certain things that you wouldn't get to, and so on. So there's a more kind of direct, you pay X money and you get some bonuses for it. But the third side to that is the expansion side. And expansion kind of works in two ways. There's kind of the large picture expansion, and then the kind of the smaller picture but equally important expansion. So an example of that would be the Horizons Fellowship. So each year GAMA opens itself up for people who are from historically underrepresented communities to put their names forward. They then select 10, and those 10 people or groups, businesses, will get mentorship. They'll get given money so they can travel to shows. They'll get given space at various events so they can exhibit. They'll get given training. And that's kind of helping, just make sure that we're more inclusive and bringing more people in. But on the wider forefront, there's things like the library program. So at the moment, they're trying to work with the American library system to get board games into as many libraries as possible and to try and get it into more places. They're talking to aligned shows, so not board game shows like Gen Con or Essen Spill, but maybe things like kind of comic cons or kind of fan cons and anime cons and things which are sitting in similar settings to try and encourage them to start introducing board game sections and having board game play areas and things like that. So there's obviously endless lists, but that kind of gives you a few examples on that side.
All right. So what's interesting when you were talking there, and of course you would do this, but you used we a lot. Mm-hmm. Now you're the president, which is interesting because it always seemed to me like an organization that publishers were connected to but not involved with. But now you're the president. So firstly, when did you decide that this might be a thing that you might want to do?
So I guess kind of to give a bit of a dynamic around how GAMA works is probably an important part. So there are two teams in GAMA. There are the day-to-day teams. So these are the paid employees who work 9 till 5, who are responsible for getting things done. And then there are the board, who are volunteers. And the way that this was described to me a while ago was, if you think of a bike, an exercise, or a cycling bike, the board are the handlebars, and the team, the organization team, they are the pedals. So they're the ones who put in the effort to make it move forward, and the board are the people who are giving it the direction of where it's going. So I am on the board, which is a volunteer position, but you have to be elected. And every year, the GAMA members are able to vote for people who put their names forward to be put onto the board. And there are 2 people from each group. So you have 2 people from publishers, 2 people from manufacturers, 2 people from retailers, 2 people from media, and so on, to make sure that there is an equal representation of like the whole industry on the board. And then within the board itself, once the board members have been elected, they then elect who is going to be the president, vice president, and so on within that. So for me, I put my name forward at the start of this year for this year's elections, because I feel that GAMA is a fantastic concept. I think the idea of what GAMA is doing is great. And I think that they do a lot of stuff really well. One of the problems that GAMA's had is that I don't think that they're great at telling people what they do. I think that they're not great at kind of explaining the benefits. They're not great at explaining the success stories or the great things that they've achieved over the years. And as an association that's been around for nearly 50 years, I mean, GAMA is older than I am. You know, it has got a long history of good and bad. And for me, I wanted to put my name forward because I believe that I'm good at talking. I believe I'm good at kind of getting out there and presenting information. And I really feel that GAMA is a fantastic thing for all of us. And it does some stuff that we can't do without it. And I think it's really important that people kind of learn that and realize that and get involved in it. And a simple example of that is a couple of years ago in America, and just to be clear, GAMA is a global association. I do talk about examples in America because obviously that's where a lot of stuff happens, but it does do things elsewhere as well. So a couple of years ago in America, you may remember that there was talk about trade tariffs, and there was this big concern of the president at the time increasing import charges from China, and this was going to have a massive impact on the industry because suddenly any board games going into America from China, which is the vast majority of them, was going to have huge kind of extra costs added onto it, and people were concerned. So GAMA, having its contacts, having its understanding of kind of the political systems and so on, they actually went to Washington and lobbied against the federal government. They provided materials for kind of people within the US to be able to supply to their local representatives, and they actually went up against the government and said, we can't have this for our industry, it's going to have an impact. So to me, those are the things that kind of happen behind the scene that GAMA does that benefit all of us. And as an individual, you know, as Frank West, I don't know how to go to Washington and lobby against the government and influence change, but GAMA does. And, you know, despite smaller day-to-day stuff, when these big picture things happen, having something like GAMA there is the only thing that's going to give us a voice in those situations. So to me, that's why I kind of step forward, because I realize how much value it does have and how it's not perceived in the right way. And I think that's something that I can help with.
And so what was the process of being elected then?
So to get onto the board itself, you have to put your name forward. So if you are a GAMA member, if you're a paying member of GAMA, then you can put yourself forward. And then there is an election. And this is literally anyone who is a member within your membership group. So publishers vote for a publisher representative, media vote for a media representative, and so on. So you put your name forward, and then all of the people within your membership group vote on which person they want to be their representative. And you get that position for 2 years. So I put my name forward. I explained what I kind of wanted to do and why. And, you know, it's like running for a political position. You have your little kind of campaign and stuff. People voted for me, and then I got in. And then on the first kind of board meeting where the 12 board members get together, there is then an internal vote where, again, we go through the officer positions like president and vice president. We put our names forward, explain why we want to do it, and then the board members vote for who the elected officers within the board are going to be.
And so I've noticed the last couple of years, I've seen Twitter spats about who's going to be elected to GAMA, and people talking in frankly hysterical terms about the future of the industry relies on this person not being elected to this august organization. I assume there was none of that in your election.
No, so for me, the way GAMA is structured has changed a lot recently, and this is one of the important things to get out there. So again, GAMA's been around since like the 70s. You know, it's been around for a long, long time, and over the years, because of that, there's obviously people who have been in GAMA for a very long time, and you effectively hear terms such as like the old boys club. You know, the people who have been, because we used to be a very male orientated industry, and it's something that obviously we're all fighting to kind of change. But I think that kind of membership basis of, you know, people have been there for 30 years. And obviously when you're doing an elected position, you're electing people. And if you've known someone for 30 years, you're more likely to elect them than someone who's new. So to address this, a couple of things kind of happened. Firstly, they changed the structure of the board. So originally the board was all publishers. So you had to be a publisher. Anyone could be a member of GAMA, but it was run by publishers. And over the last 2 years, so April this year was when it finally came into place, they were changing and fighting to change the structure of the board to have 2 people from each different group. And again, there's been retailers, distributors, and so on. So this was a big change, which a lot of people aren't aware of, but that in itself cut out a big part of that problem, because suddenly no one who had been on the board before, or these kind of people who had been around for ages, they couldn't be on the board anymore, because rather than fighting for 12 seats, they were fighting for 2 seats. The second part behind this, again, is my kind of, I hate the word campaign because it wasn't really a campaign, but it's the easiest way to kind of explain it. My campaign for running for the president of GAMA was very much based on look, I'm someone who is newer to the industry compared to these people. I'm someone who hasn't had all of these kind of connections and long-term relationships with GAMA. I'm someone who, I understand what GAMA is and what GAMA is trying to do. I understand the industry. I have the experience of working in big kind of corporations and big companies prior to being in this industry. But what I want to do is I want to give GAMA that fresh face. You know, we've got this new board structure. We've got this much more kind of shared, open way of kind of doing things. And now I want to make sure that the person who's sitting on top of that is out there projecting that and making people aware of that. Because my job, you know, the job that I've set myself is to change the way that GAMA is viewed, so people understand that it's not the same as it was. You know, everyone from both the paid staff team and the board team, which is about just over 20 people at the moment combined, there are less than like 2-3 people who have been part of GAMA for more than 3 or 4 years. The vast majority of them have only been involved in it within the last 12 to 18 months, and 6 of them have only been involved in it with the last 6 months. So it's a brand new, fresh group of people who are all fighting for that same thing. We all want to kind of fix that name and then be able to focus on the good, because as with a lot of things, when a reputation does get tarnished, which I think happened many years ago, you have to fight to win that back. And the energy that's put into that battle disrupts the energy for actually doing the good things you need to do. And I feel like GAMA's right now on that pivot point where we can make that change and we can reset that message. And hopefully by being one of the people involved in that, we're going to be able to make that work.
So we live in a rather hysterical age, and I think social media exacerbates this. And there is a concern of the politicization of organizations. And there is a perception that the board game industry has a particular political bias. It leans one direction far more than it leans another. Do you care that is an issue within the industry? Do you seek to push a more sort of a grander macro political agenda through your work at GAMA, or is it purely an industry focused non-political role that you see yourself having?
So for me personally, my focus is non-political, improve industry, and keep it simple. Now, the important thing to state with that is obviously there are things that happen which people argue about whether they are political or not, right? And that's something where when things like that occur, then obviously a decision has to be made at that time. For me, I am all about the vision of GAMA, right? The vision of GAMA is get a game onto every single table and make sure that everyone has a table. Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter their background, doesn't matter where they're from, it doesn't matter their upbringing, their beliefs, or anything else. It's about getting games to people. And that means that you have to do things, make decisions based on the best for everyone, to be inclusive, to be friendly, to be safe. And I think that side of stuff to me is a separate line to political views. Obviously, that's going to be, some people are going to argue that in itself, but GAMA isn't a political thing, right? Its goal isn't to be political. Its goal is to be neutral, but equally to do the right thing. And it's always hard because, again, people with different political views are going to see what the right thing is as different. But for me, the goal is to keep away from as much of the politics as possible because, again, that's where time gets sucked in, right? I want to make sure time is spent improving and doing, and I want to be able to turn around in 12 months' time and say, hey, this is all the amazing things we've achieved in the last 12 months.
So on to that then. So what now? What will you be doing in the next 12 months?
So it's funny because the starting point for me is to make sure that we are clearly explaining what GAMA is, what the benefits of GAMA are, and how you can be involved in GAMA. And, like this talk that I'm doing with you now, right? I don't know if anyone's done something like this for GAMA for a very, very long time. So as a kind of starting point day to day, my mission is to get out there and talk. I want to make sure that the website is revisited so that the copy or the text on the website is changed away from text aimed at people who understand what trade associations are and has moved towards the everyday person so that anyone can come along and understand it. I want to make sure that membership benefits are more clearly explained, and also the value of the board and committees, because GAMA, as I said, the direction is set by the board and the board is elected by the membership. So if you want to make a difference, right, if you want to step up and say, hey, there is something I think that we need to change in our industry or fix in our industry, and I need the platform to do it, then GAMA is an association that you can apply for, you can make your point, and if people agree, they can vote for you and you can get it done. And I want people to understand that. There's the committee side. So I don't want to go too much into committees, but committees are basically small groups of people who are members of GAMA who say there is something we want to do. Someone puts forward a proposition such as, I want to, the Fellowship Horizons program, so about bringing the underrepresented communities in. That is a committee that someone set up because we want to focus on being more inclusive. Once they put forward the idea of that committee, more members join that committee. They put forward their proposal. Then that was put forward with a budget. That budget was then discussed and approved, and that committee is now responsible for managing that program and other programs around that. So committees give people the opportunity. If you turn around now and said, hey, you know what, I think it'd be really great if people who wanted to set up podcasts had this platform to do it and it's going to cost this much money, you could put that forward and then it would be voted on, it might be set up, you might get given a budget, and then you've got the platform and the tools and the support you need to achieve that. So I want to make sure people understand these things exist and how they get involved in them and how they can do them. Once all that's done, then of course there's the bigger picture of how do we increase membership? How do we improve the membership benefits and kind of make sure that it is a safe place, and we're focusing on all those things. But I think that the message and understanding is something that we need to kind of get right first, because right now I think one of the examples I heard was that the membership group is kind of a mile wide and like 2 inches deep, which kind of suggests the concept of there's a lot of members, but very little engagement from a lot of them. Outside of the networking, the actual engagement with GAMA is low. And I want to make sure that we can improve that and give people opportunities to do that and to start forming more of a community, get people more involved, and then kind of move forward with that kind of like reinforced group and more positive message.
If someone's listening to this who's a gamer, and they're thinking, this is all very good, but this is all publishers talking to each other about how to maximize profits. What can GAMA offer the bog standard gamer on the street?
So to be clear, GAMA is as much for publishers as it is for retailers, distributors, manufacturers, obviously all still businesses, but media, event organizers and so on. But for the average, like the everyday person, the non-industry person, as a direct thing, they don't have like an input as such. GAMA doesn't take on non-industry members because it is an association for the industry. But what they offer is they are expanding the amount of like ways that people can kind of play games. So as an example, one of the things that we're currently discussing, this may or may not happen, but I'm looking into how do we get more American publishers relationships with EU translation partner publishers, so games can be translated into more languages that make more games available to more people that don't speak English. So obviously for non-industry kind of like, the gamers, there isn't anything they can do as such, but it's widening the options available to those. Now, of course, anyone who is a being that is capable of writing is always welcome to email in their ideas, their thoughts. If there are things they want to see from GAMA, if there are things they want to see or have done, if they've got an idea for how things can be progressed and the market can be expanded, then they're welcome to send them in, right? We're open to absolutely anybody's input on that.
So finally then, I'm sure some people will be thinking, because it sounds wonderful, but you are not. I assume you're not doing this simply for the good of the community. And so some people would think, and me too, what's in it for you? Why are you in this role? How does it benefit City of Games?
So it's a curious thing because in regards to how does it better benefit the City of Games, GAMA itself has benefited the company a lot over the years. It's given me a lot of connections. It's given me a lot of opportunities already up to this point. So that's prior to me being on the board and prior to me being the president of the association. That was just general stuff. So why kind of step up? Why give so much of my time, right? I'm probably going to be giving add a guess 3, 4, maybe 500 hours of my time over the next year freely towards this. I'm going to be taking on a lot of responsibilities, making some really important decisions. So the benefits to me are, there are a few. I mean, one, there is the overall, growth of the industry. Obviously, as for everyone, I truly believe that is powerful. Even for yourself, if more people are playing games, more people are listening to podcasts, and therefore you've got this room for more growth. And that in itself is a benefit. But I kind of see it as twofold. I like to take on challenges. I've always seen myself as someone who is good at being open, transparent, someone who's good at spreading messages, someone who's good at kind of growing something from nothing. And, I've done that with the City of Games. I feel like I've been very successful in getting my name out there and getting people aware of me. There's still much more to do, but it's been a very enjoyable process. But one of the things that I've never done is taken it from a 50-year-old association that's been around for a long time, that's got a lot of history, that's got a lot of positives and negatives in its past, and worked out how to fix that in this kind of way. And I see that as a challenge. I love challenges. My life is about how do I find something really hard to do and how do I achieve it? It's why I play big, complicated board games, because I love sitting down and looking at a puzzle and finding that solution. I like to think that I'm very good at it. And I see something with GAMA. I see, this diamond that, I hate this expression, I don't know why I'm saying it, but this diamond in the rough, and I want to polish it and I want to get it out there. And for me, the benefit is that in a year's time, 6 months time, 10 years time, or whatever, I can look back and go, hey, I made that difference, right? I helped achieve that. I brought more people into this hobby. I made GAMA a better place. I helped achieve that. And for me, that's reward enough. I already have my company, my business that is paying for me to live. I'm already making games. I'm already happy from that side. So this is a new challenge for me. I sat down when I started designing board games. And I said to myself, one day in the future, I would love to run a Kickstarter that gets 10,000 backers. I never thought I was going to achieve that, but I did. I sat down and said, I'd love to design a game that gets to the top 100 on Board Game Geek. And I did. And I set myself these huge goals. And now 5 years later, I found that list of goals has gotten smaller and smaller, which is fantastic. But they were meant to last me for 10, 20 years, right? So I'm setting myself new goals. I'm finding new ways to challenge myself where I can achieve something and make a difference. And that's the great thing about this, because it's not just achieving it for me, it's achieving it for everyone. And knowing that if I succeed and the people around me succeed in doing this, then everyone is going to benefit. And that feels like a really cool kind of reward for spending time on something.
Brilliant. Well, Frank, El Presidente, thank you very much for your time.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks for chatting as always.
News.
So I'm here, the roving reporter for 5G4D. I'm here with the man behind the cotton, the king of merch for the board gaming world, the founder, president, and bottle washer for SirMeeple.com. That's Tim Kulynych. Tim.
I assume that is me. Welcome. Thank you.
So usually, in this show, I do a bit where I sort of try and get people to buy merch from your website. So I thought this might be a nice opportunity to have the man behind the merch on the show. So first of all, who are you? What's your sort of gaming background? And what was the idea behind Sir Meeple?
Really, I got started in gaming about 5 years ago. And like most people, you get hooked and you watch every Dice Tower video. So immediately, I wanted to get some merch for stuff. And it's funny, with all the incredible artwork that's in board games, it's rare to find it on a shirt, or at least something that has some semblance, of that game, because, there's a few websites you go out there and usually it's like, Board Game Dad, or like I Love Games and Cats. And I just kind of wanted to create something just a wee bit different than that.
And so what was the process of getting Sir Meeple started? Because if you go to the website now, you have a number of content creators, you have a number of games with their own stuff. I mean, sort of what was the original conception and how did you go about making it into a going concern?
Really, the original idea was inspired by Tower Records. I just remember going there as a kid and like, say you want to go pick up a Guns N' Roses album, but you're going to see, a million other bands that you'd never heard of, but you might check out. That's kind of what I wanted to bring to Sir Meeple. And as far as you were on my top 3 of people to contact, and I did. And a lot of it is just really promotion. In other words, if someone loves 5G4D, they might hop on the website and be like, who in the world is We Are Not Wizards, and check them out.
I mean, hopefully not. I mean, it's the worst idea possible. But apart from that, so I mean, what's your background? Because you've been not only sort of running the website, you've been providing 5G4D with incredible sort of podcast artwork and t-shirt designs and stuff. So yeah, what's your background in graphic design and art and that sort of stuff?
Really, graphic design, I'm just it's a hobby. Most of my background is in production and live production. So I was a lighting designer for the past 20 years. So theater, concerts, weddings, everything like that. So I would have to create some graphics, for like custom things. But otherwise, just a simple old lighting designer.
And so, you're a simple old lighting designer, and yet the stuff you do with Photoshop and stuff is pretty incredible.
Thank you.
How long does it take to learn how to do that?
You know what? To get like totally proficient, I would think 4 to 8 years of really like actually going to school and doing stuff like that. I've picked up bits and pieces over the last 20 years. When I first started in my career, so I first started working for the NFL. So I worked for NFL Films. And so, you have to there's so many different programs that you have to learn, and a lot of them were proprietary. But one of the first ones I got started off was with Adobe. So a long time.
and so what were you doing for the NFL, and kind of how was that as an experience?
It was amazing. It was my dream job. We won a few Emmys. I was there for 5 seasons, and so really, they took actual film of the American football games, and everything was. They had direct flights directly, to us. We were outside Philadelphia and New Jersey, and you had to have all the footage ready to go, edited, everything within 18 hours to get to HBO. So tight deadlines, but a whole lot of fun.
And so what's your history with games then? So you said you got into games sort of 5 years ago. How did you, and what were those first kind of games that got you really fired up?
So, all right. I love like SimCity, all Civ games. And, my brother-in-law was playing some board games, and I was like, you know what? That'd be maybe a fun thing to do, with the wife, and she loves Civ games too. So the first modern board game that I ever played was Through the Ages.
Wow.
Which is amazing. So me and the wife played Through the Ages. And then he was like, we loved it, played it, even a 2-player game. We were getting like 4-hour games. And so I was like, you know what? This is awesome. This is what I want to do. I joined a board game group. And I remember the first night of board game group, and everyone's like, oh, you got to check out this Splendor game. Splendor's amazing. And after like 5 minutes, I just thought all these people should be wearing helmets, because like, why is this game lasting 20 minutes? This is a waste of time.
And so are you still a sort of super heavy game player, or have you broadened your horizons now?
It's slowed down quite a bit since the wife discovered Nintendo Switch. So, so the playtime has shortened considerably. So I've done more solo games, but I'm mostly a Euro gamer. Anything by Paolo Mori, right up my alley. Love Stan Kordonski, anything he does. But mostly just Euro games.
And so, okay, let's go back to Sir Meeple then. So you have this idea of starting this company. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to get it sort of on its feet and out into the world?
Really, it was just more of, all right, so when you first go and you look at, different board game stuff and like on Etsy and things like that, and you'll see a ton of Wingspan stuff and a ton of Scythe things. And the first thing that occurred to me is like, if I'm going to do this, like I have to work with the people who are actually creating these things. So that's what takes the most time, is really contacting the distributor or, the publisher, the writer, the creator, and just making sure they're good with it. But also if sales come in, that they also get a portion of that. So it's the whole community supporting each other. So there is that time, but as far as, really 3 to 6 months, really to get up and running.
And you said like I was on your initial list, but who else did you want to contact? And, who else are you really happy to have on the website? My
top 3, like before I even came up with anything, was you, Sir Richard Simpson, and the Board Game Snobs. Those were my anchors. And then immediately reached out to Dan Halligan, who made the game Obsession. And also Rurik down in Kiev. I'm not sure if you played that. Yep. And that's where I first got introduced to Stan Kordonski, and have picked up some of his other games lately.
And so how is the website doing? Because I get a sales report sort of every month, and I have no idea what that means or how that translates to sort of you. But sort of how is it doing?
Slowly building. It's funny. I worked in apparel for a very, very short period of time. So it's interesting how when you think you would be busy, you're not at all. So the summer months when you would think you would sell a ton of t-shirts, you don't sell any at all. If anything, hoodie sales are picking up, to get ready for the next season. It's the same reason why, you can buy a bikini in October, but you can't actually find one, in the summer. So yeah, it's slow right now, but just slowly building. I'm just trying to get a decent inventory of, people that, work in different genres, but still in the board game community.
And so, okay, let's look at someone who's listening to this and they're thinking, I need to stock up on my 5G for D merch.
Of course.
What is your picks for the top sort of 5G for D stuff people can buy?
Well, you have the standard logo, which is amazing. I'm really a sucker for the battle report. My wife hates that I wear that way too often to the point that I have 3 of them.
Well, of course you do.
And your suggestion of having it in the like drab olive was beautiful and perfect. So that's really my go-to. I have we need to give, I think it's back up on the site, but I have a 5G4D hat. Really, it's just my wife chastising me because I do wear a lot of 5G4D. I think I posted, it was probably within the last 6 months, that we finally like left the house during quarantine and went to a concert, and I had to wear my 5G4D shirt. It had to happen.
You did.
Correct. It also goes very well with booze.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to associate myself with simply drinking, but you know, if you want
exquisite.
to drink,
it was exquisite drinking.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah. And so, okay then, how can people, if they want to buy some top 5G4D merch, or if they're feeling, highly ironic and sort of want to look like a moron, buy some We're Not Wizards stuff, how can they go about doing that?
Just go to sirmeeple.com. If you hit on the creators, you have different categories, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, or whoever you're looking for, and also games in the game category.
Brilliant. Well, Tim Kulynych, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
News. All right, so we're here, this section in the news where we've got the questions.
Are we in the section this time?
We're in the section. This is the section.
We're here.
Yeah, we're in the section.
Okay.
Why do you think I'm speaking with this slightly elevated voice?
I don't know. You're a pretentious cunt.
When I'm speaking normally, I just talk like that all the time.
You do talk like that most of the time, actually. So for people who don't know Ben, when he does his podcast, he has like this broadcaster persona.
How's it going? My name's Benjamin W. Maddox.
Yeah, in real life, he's really low key, very quiet.
Steve.
Yeah, he talks like this.
What are you doing tonight?
This is the reason we do these episodes. It's the only way I can like kind of get him out of his shell.
Shall I do the rest of the section in my normal voice?
If you like. I mean,
right.
I don't think it's going to get us any more, patrons.
How you doing, Steve? You all right? What you had for tea today?
You know what? Save it for when we're just hanging out.
All right, good. You get the private me.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And if so Gord of Santorini fame came to Berlin and asked me to join him for a couple of drinkies. If you come to Berlin, listeners, if you come to Berlin and you send me an email, 5gamesfordoomsday@gmail.com, and you're not a weird stalker murdery type who wants to poison me and then have your way with me, then, drop us an email. We'll go out for a drink, please.
Wait. So you'll go out for a drink with anyone who listens?
Sure.
Not just patrons?
No, anyone who listens.
Okay, well, if you want me to come along, they have to be a patron.
You have to be a patron.
That's what I'm offering.
There you go.
That's it.
You get the full Steve Cyrek experience.
Yeah, I'm not an extrovert like Ben, so if you want me to hang out, make it worth our while.
So, before we get to the questions, what do you think conceptually of randos?
I struggle with randos. So the challenge for me with randos is they represent the unknown.
Yeah.
It's like, drawing a chit out of a hat.
Right.
You don't know if you're going to get a bad one.
Exactly.
And
last night we played Blood on the Clock Tower with a load of randos.
That's like a very rando-friendly game for the most part.
It's a very rando-friendly game.
Like the impact of a bad rando is diluted across like 10 people. In other games, like a 4-player game, like there are a couple games we played where, remember that one time we played, what the hell was it? It was
Vast,
the mysterious manor.
I wanted to murder him.
I mean, we started passive-aggressively timing his turns.
Yeah.
And one of them took 20 minutes.
Unbelievable. He was such a dickhead.
And, I fear that. I fear, like, that guy, the guy with the dog.
Yeah, there was a guy in our game group with a dog who was just the most annoying twat, and then the dog would jump up on the table and knock the fucking game down, and he ate, like, apart someone's game once.
He would always, like yell at us during the game.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't understand something, he got angry.
Like a real objectionable person. It's so odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think people think I'm objectionable?
Most of them.
I think most of them think they're probably thinking, who's the coolest of all cool dudes over there?
You're always making this point that basically people are fine, or as you say,
I think they are,
right,
basically.
Yeah.
People are fine. It's all contextual.
I worry too much about the outliers, probably. And you know what? We were all randos at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't take to you the first time I met you.
Opposites attract.
And now we're embarking on a deeply passionate sexual relationship. I mean, a true friendship where we have a chat and that. Definitely don't fucking reach around.
Definitely don't.
All right, so random number generator. What number are you hoping for? You can't say 23 this time.
I was going to say 23.
You said it last time. You can't say 23 every week.
Okay, so up to what number?
33.
Okay, I wanted to say 39 because I went to the gym
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
And they measured my body. They like sent it was funny. I stood
Oh my
on
God, was that traumatic?
a little bit.
Yeah.
They take a photo of your body and like the weight, the height. You like hold these like two metal grips and stand on a.
Is it Scientology?
Well, they like zapped me with something, and then
Yeah.
it told them what my my body mass index, my fat percentage, all
Yeah,
that,
peeny weeny sizey wisey.
blood pressure. So
Yeah.
they told me that I am biologically 39 years old, Ben.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I think I can do better. So I want 39, but actually I will take 33 because that's how old Jesus Christ was when.
We've both beaten Jeebus at living.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do it.
25. That's how old I am biologically. 25. So this is another one. How many questions did he put?
Certainly, some of your warts are.
So another one from We're Not Wizards. I don't know how many questions he put in.
This isn't fair.
So
We're not going to spend 20 minutes talking about it, though.
Well, it depends what the question is. So, while people continue to talk about this is a good one actually for you because you're a bit of a
What?
You're a bit of an elitist. While people continue to talk about accessibility to the hobby, are we reaching the point where keeping up with the latest big names is simply becoming prohibitively expensive? Stevie Weevy Lemon Squeevox.
I don't think this question directly addresses me.
Well, you know, we've had this conversation on podcasts many times, and you've just basically gone, oh, I don't really care, to be honest.
I just don't think it matters that much. Like,
I'm all right,
you
Jack, isn't it?
like you can go to the local game meetup, and there are loads of games you can play. People are bringing games.
Can you? I mean, we live in Berlin, which is some sort of board game nirvana, right? So we're very lucky.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure there are people.
Are you saying like every game that's made should cost like 30 euros or whatever?
So we've had this conversation many times, right? And I think so. So I think that Vital Lacerda is up there with as being one of the best game designers currently in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And I think his games offer a very unique, challenging, and rewarding experience. I think Lisboa is absolutely astonishing. Mm-hmm. I think the Splotter lads are not only one of the most unique voices in board gaming, but they're also, you know, some of the best designers.
Well, I mean, getting their games is not even a matter of money.
So, I mean, and we are currently living through, especially, you know, I listen to a lot of British news, an unprecedented cost of living crisis. Mm-hmm. We're living through an unprecedented sort of environmental upheaval. Mm-hmm. And these big games with their big components and their ships going across the oceans and getting some airlifted into conventions, it's not just a financial cost thing. And people may say, you know, well, the carbon footprint for board gaming isn't very big, and that may be true. But it's like, you know, I only stabbed one person in the face. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm not defending like the production of like deluxe board games with lots of like lots of plastic and huge minis and shit like that. That is a bit excessive. I just don't like necessarily buy the argument that people are somehow being disenfranchised because of it, because there are just like so many thousands of games. There are like plenty of games to play. I mean, this is actually kind of an elitist argument. It's like people are being deprived of people like Vital Lacerda is what you're saying.
Sure.
One of the great things about board games for me has always been the community aspect to it. So
okay.
When I was a teenager, I couldn't afford any of these games. I went and I played other people's games, and they had them. They introduced me to them.
Right.
So I'm like probably imagining like that kind of scenario where, you know, if you're desperate to play the game, somebody probably has it.
But you've always lived in an urban metropolitan area, right?
No, not at all.
Well, I mean, when you were playing games, you were playing in New York,
yeah, I mean,
right?
Not New York City. I mean, in New Jersey. But
right.
like, yeah, I mean, it was a populated area. But are you imagining somebody living in the countryside who's like desperate to play Kanban or something?
I mean, it's conceivable.
Barely. I think if you even like know that these games exist, you're probably already in that sort of community where these experiences are available.
I mean, so it's a fascinating thing. So again, old man shouting at clouds, right? I also have, and I think you share this with me, I also have so I wrote a piece recently, and I talked about the new version of the Castles of Burgundy and how I'm really not behind it, and how I feel that Alia, this company that produces these wonderful, deep
Did they publish that one though?
Yeah, Castles of Burgundy, yeah.
No, the deluxe one.
No.
Yeah, I don't think
And
so.
so, these wonderful, deep Euro games that cost 30 quid, that you get. Castles of Burgundy is masterful and wonderful, and yet it costs 30 quid. And you don't suffer because you don't get massive dildos of plastic and fucking game tray, fucking storage compartments. That game has never suffered from that. And so it just seems, on one side, we're sort of talking about trying to mould a more fair and equitable world. And on the same side, these massive deluxe board games feel a bit like playing the fiddle while Rome is burning. I mean, am I being overly dramatic here? I mean, it's just what it feels like to me. It feels decadent to me.
I mean, I think you're entitled to your opinion. I mean, maybe it's like a decadent...
Am I double entitled to my opinion because I'm great?
Maybe it's a decadence that's like of a piece with like various other forms of decadence that we experience in a fucking massive consumerist capitalist society. A lot of the games I played that were from like the 70s, like years and years ago, I mean, like they had no components to speak of. I mean, little tiny...
And did the game experience suffer?
Pieces of cardboard you had to move with tweezers, basically.
Does the game experience suffer?
You bring so much of yourself to the game that the components almost don't matter.
Right.
And the overwrought blingification of everything in the world that has now also like started to consume the board gaming hobby space as well is not something like I stand behind. But I mean, this wasn't exactly the question.
So I think that
it's like keeping up with games.
Yeah. So I think what Richard is trying to point out actually here is a kind of blind spot if you're being charitable, or a hypocrisy if you're not being charitable. And I think what he's trying to say is that there are constant debates about accessibility to games, whether we are doing enough as a community to make sure certain groups feel welcome within the gaming space. And yet, because everyone in gaming is part of the petty bourgeois, and they don't really have to think about money, and probably most of them never have.
Do you think that's what he's talking about?
I think this is what he's implying.
He's talking about like keeping up with the hobby.
Yeah, but he's saying, people are talking about accessibility to games, and yet do you think people are being priced out? I think what he's trying to say is, there is all this talk about accessibility, and yet there seems to be very little focus on the class aspect of this. It's all about gender, colour, sexuality. And I appreciate there are prejudices in all areas, but...
nobody ever talks about class.
Because people don't talk
anymore.
about class. Because the debate has been completely gentrified. It's been completely taken over by the bourgeoisie. And the bourgeoisie are as blinkered as anyone else. And they're talking about the things that affect them rather than the elephant in the room, which is people can't afford to buy bloody food, let alone 120 quid for a Vital Lacerda game.
So let's maybe go a little bit deeper here. Why is this argument an important one to have about the board gaming hobby specifically? Are we not a bunch of privileged people sort of patting ourselves on the back for wanting the hobby to be more accessible?
I think you misinterpret it because I think the argument people would use, and it's an argument I think that carries some weight, is that, so the reason I would talk about it within the board game hobby is because I really love board games and it's my fixation. And so this is an area in which, relatively speaking, I'm expert in, and so I feel like I can talk about. And of course we talk about, the general world, but because we are on board games and we're on a board game podcast, talking about it within the board game.
I just wonder if there's like special pleading going on here, because nobody talks about making, I don't know, skiing more accessible, golf more, maybe golf. I don't know.
This is fascinating, right? Isn't it? Because it's funny because golf,
art collecting,
golf was always held up. Well, again, so I'll talk about golf and I'll talk about art. So golf was always held up as this very posh sport, and I think to a certain degree that is true. Yet in Britain, you can play on reasonably good golf courses for almost no money, right? I played a lot of golf as a teenager.
But what is almost no money?
£5 for a round.
That's almost
9-hole pitch and putt. Holes are decent. You need irons to hit the green.
Like even today?
Well, this was when I was sort of in my 20s. I don't think it's changed massively. My brother, who's worked in a factory all his life, is an avid golfer, right? And using sort of municipal golf courses, pitch and putt golf courses. And so in Britain, it's funny. I grew up playing tennis and I grew up playing golf.
I grew up bowling.
Right.
That's cheap.
Sure. And so this kind of idea that, so there is accessibility there, and I think people should, if they want to. Art, on the other hand, sure, art collecting is one thing. Board game collecting is one thing. But we have, and especially in Britain as museums are free, which is under Margaret Thatcher, which blows my mind, people have access to art if they want it. The argument is, because board gaming is a niche thing and because there isn't any sort of clamour for it to be sort of, for provisions to be made for people to play, because also we live in a world in which play is still considered immature, I think. People don't have access to certain things.
Why do we assume they want access? I would guess like
maybe they don't.
I would guess that a lot of like if we're talking about like poor people, they at least in my country like probably are spending so much of their lives struggling to make ends meet. Like they couldn't even avail themselves of free museums or like board game nights if they wanted to.
The point is,
there are like more fundamental issues at stake.
Sure, there are more fundamental issues, and again, having this, you could accuse us if we're having this argument about board games, as we're the fuckers playing the violin while Rome is burning.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, I just think like there are loads of games. Like you can't necessarily play or own every single game, but there are like loads, like thousands and thousands that you can. And you know, maybe what we need here is an argument to add board games to public libraries. Probably some public libraries do have
some
board games, but not like, you know, I probably have a better board game library than any public library in the world. But you could imagine that. You could imagine a scenario whereby public libraries around the world start stocking board games, but like only if people want them. I don't know.
And I guess it comes down to actually Richard's,
I would get behind that.
Actually, I think so. I'm going to ask you a question and see what you think. I think the crux of Richard's question is: do you think that all of this focus on aspects of identity, when you talk about accessibility, as opposed to aspects of class, is...
I thought he just meant like it's getting difficult for people like us to keep up with the hobby.
Is negligent? I guess that's the question I want to ask you.
But is it the same question he's asking?
Well, he said, and I've deleted it off the list because I do it straight away. But he said, with all this talk about accessibility, people don't talk about financial accessibility to the hobby. Are people being priced out? So I guess I'll re-ask you the question. So, do you think people focusing on identity aspects of accessibility and not focusing on class aspects of accessibility, is that negligent? If you want to focus on accessibility in gaming, for instance.
Well, if you're talking about...
And don't talk about the value of talking about accessibility in gaming. We'll take it for this question as a given.
I'm not going to get meta on that one. No, it's more like if it's an economic question, then the cost of the games or like the cost of entry to the hobby is the issue. And I don't even know like what is the average price point of a board game these days, and like if you compare that against the sort of consumer price index, are they actually as inaccessible as we imagine they might be? That would be something we could probably verify. Accessibility...
Isaac Shalev, he'll know that stuff.
Yeah, Isaac, get on it. Accessibility in the sort of like cultural sense, that's like more of a community thing. That has nothing to do with board games as a product, unless you think of like the content of the games as being relevant here. Is that we're talking about the content?
No, I think we're talking about accessibility when it comes to price fundamentally.
Yeah, well then this is something, you know, there's data, we'd have to look into it and then be able to make an intelligent observation about it.
Nicely dodged. Okay, my number this week that I want to come is number 2, because it's my favourite number.
Because you're talking about poop.
I'm talking about
poop.
Feces.
Poop, right, yeah.
Number 5, Steve.
Number 5 is alive, Ben.
Steve Guttenberg, Ali Sheedy, we've already said it. Okay, so Melody Cogdill asks the question, Steve. What is your favourite meal? Meal. So I didn't say specifically gaming questions when I had the questions up. I said just ask questions. What is your favourite meal? This is interesting because I don't think I know your favourite meal.
When we play games, I do like making a meal of you.
That's right. Are you talking about fellatio here?
No, I'm talking about beating you in the game, Ben.
Okay.
Does everything have to be sexual with you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's been a while, Steve. It's been a while.
This is going out on the main feed.
So I went on a date the other week, and
My parents might listen to this.
yeah, I'm sure they're big fans of 5G.
Like people who like arguably respect me.
Yeah.
They're gonna hear this. Well, they're not gonna hear it. Never mind.
So anyway, I went out on a date the other week with a lady the day before she dumped me, and we had a little kiss and that, but no more than that. You know, I got my ardour up, and yet I had no, legitimate avenue through which to quench it. And so,
Shall we pause this and come back?
Yeah. Well, that's a lot better. Lovely. Woo! Woo-hoo!
Okay.
Much less stress now. Anyway, so
Sorry for making the listeners wait 2 to 3 minutes.
apart from what you've just had in your mouth, what's your favourite meal, Steve?
So I come from New Jersey in the USA, and childhood tastes like pizza.
Really? Your favourite meal is pizza?
Probably. If I had, what am I going to say?
So we'll get back to this.
Sushi. I mean, I didn't start eating sushi until I was
Sushi's
in my
fine,
20s.
but it's not his favourite meal. Right, we'll get back to this.
Ramen is the hipster answer, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. But
So
pizza.
We'll get back to this question in a minute.
It's not a very interesting answer, right?
So you're from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So,
New Jersey, York City.
yeah. So, what happens when you acquire a brand new pullover? How do you feel about that?
So shall we go to the next question?
Does it give you more of a sort of because you're from New Jersey?
Yeah, right.
When you get
So
a New Jersey,
I'm like,
is it like
I'm
squared?
an extra from The Sopranos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it like squared when you get a New Jersey? Because you're from New Jersey and you've got a New Jersey.
Oh, this is not even like a sophisticated joke.
No, it's New Jersey when you get a new pullover.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it like squared?
Can you
the
also
joy?
edit? Can you edit this part out too?
What do you mean we haven't edited any bits out of the show, Stephen? All right, so yeah, but so saying pizza's your favourite meal is all very good, but it doesn't solve anything. What is your favourite topping on a pizza? And we all know
Mushrooms.
just mushrooms.
Yeah, pizza with mushrooms since I was a kid.
Right, so no tomato sauce.
No, of course, like table stakes, right? Tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese.
Oh, okay, and then just
What would
mushrooms.
you call it? Like a margarita with mushrooms, but we don't call it margarita.
Just mushrooms.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Insanity.
I mean, I also like sausage sometimes. I don't really like pepperoni.
Don't you?
Not so much.
So the best topping,
too salty.
The best topping for a pizza. Well, you'll hate my favourite pizza then.
Yes, I
Best
will.
topping for a pizza. Now, it's not supposed to have mozzarella.
Yorkshire pudding.
I mean, that would be lovely. It's not supposed to.
Bangers and mash.
Yeah, bangers and mash on a pizza.
Cockle and squib or whatever you call
Cockles and mussels, Steve.
it. No. What's this like? It's like squibs and.
Bubble and squeak.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
mean. So, anyway, it's not supposed to have mozzarella cheese, but it's better with mozzarella cheese. Capers, olives, and anchovies.
This must be like a developed taste of yours, though.
Well, as a kid, I didn't eat them. No.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But now that's the best one.
Yeah,
That's
sure,
amazing.
Sure. Maybe a little bit of Tabasco sauce.
So, best meal?
Mm-hmm.
Best meal, Steve.
Sunday roast.
No, although Sunday roast is up there. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Is a meat jalfrezi with pilau rice and a Peshwari naan, Steve.
That sounds pretty good. You know, I like a Kashmiri biryani with like dried fruit and nuts in it.
Exactly.
It's pretty good.
So if you remember when we were with Samuel Tarley on Hadrian's Wall, that's what I
For the OG listeners.
Exactly. That's what I ordered from the
Say it again?
the curry house. A meat jalfrezi,
Jalfrezi, okay.
which is in the medium spicy curries, it's on the spicy end.
This is Punjabi food,
Well, it's Indian food.
but like northern Indian.
I don't know because I get it from England. I don't know what
okay.
similarity it bears to actual Indian.
Okay.
So it's medium, top end of medium spicy, but not into the Vindaloo, Fal area because you just do that to try and prove how much of a bloke you are, and then it's a nightmare. Pilau rice, and then Peshwari naan, which is the naan that comes with coconut and almonds and raisins in it.
Sounds really good.
Absolutely.
Peshawar, okay. This is like-
Peshwari.
yeah.
Which is, it's
Just
just,
mountainous area.
Indian food is just the best food. I think Korean is running it pretty close. But
Korean's
Indian
really
food.
good. Well, for you, because you grew up with it.
Exactly.
English food is, or no, Indian food is English. How do you say it?
Yeah.
Which way?
English food is Indian food.
Yeah.
Indian food is English food.
Yeah.
It's like they say in Berlin, right?
You're not eating plowman's lunches.
Not
It's like,
so often.
that's for the tourists.
Yeah. So,
Shepherd's pie.
shepherd's pie is quite a normal thing.
Squabble and croak.
Exactly. Mingle and bangalang.
Yeah.
So, oh, do you know what I learned the other day?
No.
The word loot
I listened to the same podcast.
is an Indian word.
We listened to the exact same podcast then.
Anyway, so yeah, and so Americans might not realize this, but so it's like in Berlin, right? People say, oh, the Berlin meal is currywurst, which is a complete lie. The Berlin street food is what?
Street food?
Yeah,
Dinner.
is a döner, right?
Yeah.
It's not currywurst. They say it's currywurst, but it's not. It's a döner kebab.
Yeah, dinner kebab, yeah.
And in Britain, just like I came from a town of 3,000 people, yet we had a brilliant curry house. And just Indian food is the core of kind of British drunken culture. And there's always one dickhead, right? You go to the pub, you drink a lot of booze, and then you go, all right, let's go for a curry.
Not a fish and chips.
No, not if you're going out. Fish and chips you have at home. You have fish and chips tea
No, you
at
get
home.
it wrapped in the newspaper.
Yeah, and you take it home, and then you eat it at home in front of the telly.
Oh, okay, I never did that. Well, I didn't have a home
Well, exactly.
in England.
But there's always one dickhead who has chicken and chips.
Chicken and chips?
You'll go to an Indian restaurant, and they always have like a very small side menu of
Yeah.
English things, because there's always one dickhead who won't eat Indian food. No, you know, spicy muck. Oh, I'm not eating that foreign muck.
I went to a really nice Indian restaurant in Bath once with
Yeah.
with my wife.
It's pronounced Bath.
Bath. And the waiter tried to convert us to Islam.
Oh, did he? Nice.
Yeah.
Did you?
He didn't succeed, no.
Oh, well. Anyway, so, okay.
But it's an interesting question, like, what's your favorite meal? Because, I don't know, like, they sort of, like, they come and go in life. Like, if I was a kid, I don't even know if I would say pizza, like baked ziti or lasagna.
Well, I think there's two...
Italian stuff, right? And then in Germany, I really like the Schweinehaxe. I really like a schnitzel here.
But there's two kinds of favorite meals, right?
Yeah.
There's that...
Breakfast tacos, Ben. Breakfast tacos. Enchiladas. They're amazing.
What's in a breakfast taco? It sounds horrendous.
I mean, it's like a breakfast burrito, but it's a taco. It's a corn tortilla with
Like eggs and bacon in it.
Yeah, eggs and bacon, maybe some potatoes, cheese, hot sauce. I know you like that.
What's your view of the full English?
A full English breakfast is my favorite meal is a full English breakfast. Oh, whenever I fly through England going back home and I get to stop over in Heathrow and it's the morning, I have a full overpriced English breakfast in the airport.
So what's your ideal full English? So you got
eggs sunny side up,
Okay, yeah.
bacon,
Yeah.
beans,
Right. Are you
mushroom.
weirded out by beans on a breakfast? Foreign people always seem to say beans on a breakfast.
I'm an Anglophile.
Okay.
Mushrooms,
Mushrooms, yeah, gotta have mushrooms.
tomatoes, as you would say.
Yeah, tinned or fresh?
I think they're like, aren't they fresh and then like
Grilled?
Yeah, well,
Depends where
pan fried or whatever.
depends where you're getting your breakfast. Yeah. What else?
There's more.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have like some kind of like pudding or sausage or something?
Black pudding, innit?
Black pudding. That's what's the
Sausage?
Yeah, I was looking for black.
You
pudding.
forgot sausage?
Sausage and bacon.
Are you fucking off your head? What kind of Anglophile are you?
You get them both. I don't.
Bacon, eggs, sausage, beans, tomatoes. They're the 5 standard things. You can't have a full English unless
Hey,
you've got
I did
those.
pretty well. I did pretty well.
Better than the Sunday roast debacle a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know from Sunday roast.
And then black pudding. White pudding if you're in Ireland. White pudding is also very nice. Tatty cakes, I think, if you're in Scotland. And they do the square sausage or the Scottish one.
Okay. Oh, haggis is not bad.
Haggis on a breakfast?
No, just in general.
Haggis is amazing, yeah.
I was terrified of it the first time, and I ate it. I'm like, this is incredible.
It's incredible
It's got
stuff.
oats.
Yeah.
I didn't even think they grow oats in Scotland. Of course, they would like stuff a sheep bladder with or whatever it is with oats
And meat.
and
Various offal.
and offal.
All right, what's your
It's
view?
not awful at all.
We'll wrap this up. What's your view on offal? What's your favourite?
Favorite offal? I had the most amazing sandwich of my life when I was in. You love these stories, right? When I was in Siena, Italy, a couple years ago, a couple years ago, and I was a bit timid about trying it, but apparently, they said it's amazing. You have to try it. It is a tripe sandwich, and apparently,
tripe.
tripe is like, I think it's like boiled tripe is like boiled seasoned tripe is the street food of Florence.
Wow.
Of Tuscany, basically. So it was like a Florentine style tripe sandwich that I happened to have in Siena, and it was amazing. I think I had to like forget that I was eating a cow's stomach lining, but whatever. Like meat is meat.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
I grew up as a kid eating liver and onions. Oh.
And you liked it, I guess?
And that's your news.
Utter tripe.
Thank you for listening to the 5 Games for Doomsday news. To listen to past episodes, you can go to 5gamesfordoomsday.com, or to back the show, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. So, join us again next month for some hot and spicy 5 Games for Doomsday
News.